Okie dokie. I should try to tweet one more time if I could.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Well, hello, folks. Welcome to Killing Even More. I am Karyn Bryant, here with...
Hey, I'm Megan Olivi. Thank you so much for joining us. Tonight was the finale. And Karyn, I feel like a part of me is going missing now.
I know, I'm really, really sad. Yes, it was the season finale of season 3. We do know that they did get picked up, though. So there's good news there that the show did. How could it not? How could it not? But yeah, it's so weird because if we could just take a second and contextualize, like, there's a lot going on in the world right now, right? You and I both live in America. America is in a state of turmoil right now. So while we have a lot of things going on politically and also health-wise with COVID, there's a lot of turmoil. So I was really looking forward to tonight, Megan, you know what I mean? For like a little bit of peace and a little bit of something that I love. But at the same time, it was like, I thought it was such a great episode and so much to enjoy. But at the same time, now I'm just sad because it's over.
I know. There's a lot to be stressed about now, and we add that Killing Eve is over at the very bottom of the list, but it's still there.
But it's in there. All right, so I don't even know where you want to start with this. I think where I want to start is almost at the end, which is we got so much Eve and Villanelle together this episode, which I thought was lovely. And at the end, they're there at the Tower Bridge. It's romantic. It's beautiful. It's put our backs to each other and walk away. We're going to just walk away. They can't walk away from each other, Megan.
No, and
they can't walk away. But they actually almost talked about, like, what would happen if we were together and we had a future together.
Yeah, there was so much to take away from that, because when that final scene starts, you think, like, okay, they're really doing this. It seems like they are both intent on, like, listen, I know this isn't a good idea. We'd kill each other. Like, we have to do this. But then as they're walking, they take like 10 paces. And then you see that they both kind of stop and face one another. So, of course, this is where I'm sure we'll pick up for season 4. And to get there was so many different paths that we took. But for me, the biggest takeaway of this episode, it was so beautiful.
It was.
From that end scene and the very beginning scene when they were in the music hall. Was it St. Albert's Hall?
It's Royal Albert Hall in London, yeah.
And it was just so beautiful with the blues and the whites and then the red couches. And I really felt like this was such a beautifully shot episode that for me, it was like gratifying. Like, oh, wow, look at this. Look at these beautiful visuals we had to be our last reminder of what season 3 was. That was a huge takeaway for me.
Yeah, I would have to agree with you. And if Wade wants to, if you can pull the picture. So there's shots of, at the beginning, it was Carolyn and Villanelle met at Royal Albert Hall.
Yeah.
And they're there talking. And that's really where my tribute outfit comes in. So Villanelle was wearing sort of the gray suit, and it had that kind of fluffy, sequiny collar, which I just thought was so beautiful. And yes, I've never been to Royal Albert Hall myself, but this I thought was very beautiful. 100% agree with you about how pretty this episode was. There was a couple times, even later on, when they were dancing, and I was like, is that blue screened or what? Like the way they did almost the portrait setting treatment of focus and blur and what's important and everything. There was a much more dreamy feeling to everything. And like, yes, that whole ethereal. And it was interesting to me too, like, not only Tower Bridge, which, you know I've been to London, and I was supposed to go in March, and I was looking forward to it again. And I go on these trips, work trips alone and stuff like that. But it's a romantic place, right? And you can imagine being at the Tower Bridge, or even at the London Bridge, looking at the Tower Bridge. You would see, like, it's a place. It's just a place that has a lot of feeling to it. But between that one and the scene in the dance hall, everything was so romantic. And it was also, what I loved was that it was actually so casual, their conversations. Like, it was almost like, I've been chasing you forever. We've been chasing each other forever. And then they got together, and it was like, oh, hey.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I kind of loved that.
Questions?
How you doing?
Uh-huh. This is nice. Oh, I came here once. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. And it was cool because it was almost like they both knew, right? They're just resigned to the fact, all right, I love you, you love me, we're here, we're mental, it's cool, we know it, now what?
Yeah, no, exactly. And I think for me, like, a lot of wheels started turning just on what they could be when I saw the opening scene.
Yeah.
Where we find out Carolyn had offered Villanelle a job.
Right.
And immediately in my mind, I'm like, oh, this is how they become domesticated bliss. Like, this is what happens. And so
I hear lesbians only need one date, though, Megan. It's funny. All my lesbian friends are like, literally on the second date we move in. So.
So when she said that, I was like, oh, she doesn't, like, okay, you can see this, but then she wasn't of use to Carolyn because she said she doesn't want to kill. She's like, I could do codes or stuff like that. And it's like, oh,
right.
You're a cryptologist all of a sudden now? But she does have these language skills. I'm like, maybe you guys are quick to dismiss her for all this. But that was my first thought when Carolyn offered her the job was, this is how she can be with Eve. They can work together,
right?
Can live together, and like they can make a normal-esque life. But we see that's never going to happen for them.
They can't. Well, they can't. And it's funny too because I wrote that down too because I loved the line though because as I've said thematically throughout all of Killing Even More, Carolyn is my patron saint. I think I just love that woman, and I love they just write her great line. They write great lines for everybody, but Carolyn has got the zingers. But she said if Villanelle is gone, what's left? Oksana, and what use is she? And it was interesting, right? You saw this kind of look on Villanelle's eyes, and we know so much about this season was the search for identity and family and all of these things. And it was sort of interesting, right? Because you almost saw Villanelle think about that for the first time too. Like, yeah, if Villanelle is gone, who am I? And then it was like she gets to create all these things. Like, who knows how much of the stuff that we've seen her do that on the killing part where she looks like she's quote unquote having fun. Like, we don't even really know what Oksana likes, right? Like, it's weird.
And maybe she doesn't either. Right. It's like, has she taken on this persona to block that out for so long? But I think the things Dasha had said to her last episode, kind of like laying into her about she really doesn't have anyone and doesn't have anything. And these people you work for, they don't care about you. Well, it kind of bled through into like, oh, I'm going to start a new life and I'll just work for Carolyn. She offered me a job. And it's like, well, no, we only want the old you.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And a lot of value. And the thing that was interesting too, because it came back around because later on when Villanelle, at the end, she's like, no, you're not family. And like, so it means something to her, it really does. And we've heard that before in life. Like, sometimes your family that you choose, you're bonded to even more than the family you're born with, right? Because you didn't choose them.
Absolutely. And I did wonder when she said that to Konstantin at the end, what does she, even though she doesn't know Carolyn and she really doesn't know Eve that well. I mean, they know each other, but she doesn't know how she takes her coffee or things like that. The things about your significant other. I almost felt like as she was saying that to Konstantin, she felt more family, she felt more accepted and welcomed and a family feeling with Carolyn and Eve and whatever the MI6 maybe family has to offer her, and not Konstantin, who really did know her and knew a lot about her.
Right. Yep. Yeah. I mean, and also too, I mean, there are times where I think that in a fire or whatever, I would probably, or fire is not the right analogy, but like in that situation, when you're looking at Paul and Konstantin versus Carolyn and Eve, and I'd be like, I'm going with the girls. What, you know what I mean? Like, I'd be like, I'm going with my girls.
Yeah, exactly.
There's definitely part of that for me, but the whole idea about Paul. So at the end, right, the last 15 minutes, the last 10, 12 minutes are just like reveal, all this stuff, right? So we find out that Konstantin is working for everybody like we thought, right? But there was a couple things that I thought were really interesting because they're at Paul's house and everything, and they break it all down, and Konstantin's like, well, yeah, I was working for him, and I've got the money. It was just also convoluted, but did you really think that Carolyn was going to kill Konstantin? Because I wasn't sure, and I'm glad she did take Paul out instead. But the whole idea of the crossing each other and who's really working for whom and who's in charge and what's the 12 and can they ever really be stopped? Like, there was so much, it almost came to the point where they were just like, the 12 will never be stopped. Whatever we do, it almost doesn't matter.
Yes, it was a lot. And I think we all kind of, towards the end of this, got the vibe that Paul worked for the 12. I think we all kind of were like, okay, no big shocker there. I think we all thought Konstantin was stealing the money.
Right.
But I really did think Karyn was going to kill him. I thought because I don't know. The story of Kenny and I think it was like she loved Kenny. That was her guy. She said, Kenny was mine, and to Geraldine, you were your father's.
Right.
So I really thought this is the time. But then I wonder if she didn't, only because he might have been Kenny's father. And it's like, is she doing a disservice to her son then if she kills his father too? And, I don't know. Maybe she's like, just go run off and never go to Cuba, and I'm never going to see you again. But I really did. I was glad she took out Paul, because he was behind, obviously, Mo's killing, but he could have been behind how many more other terrible things.
Right.
And he probably would have continued to hunt all of them down, and they weren't going to be safe if Paul was alive. And I think she knows, I want this revenge on Konstantin, but if I let him live, he's not going to, I don't think Konstantin is going to seek out Karyn to kill her. Or right. I think he knows, like, okay, they know, but they're not going to do anything to me, so I'm not going to go kill them.
Yeah, and I do think, and the whole thing, because she was like, don't say it about you used to love me and this and that, and don't say it and this and that, but you do feel that Konstantin is going to be a lot more valuable to Karyn alive than Paul would have been, or whatever, because like Paul would never talk, even if they're like, we got you, or we know everything, like he's never going to talk, right? But Konstantin, she would maybe be able to get stuff out of because of their relationship. And you're right, yes, the whole thing about maybe if he was Kenny's dad, I don't know, but there was. Oh, go ahead.
No, I'm just agreeing.
Oh, no, I was going to say, and we have some questions to get to too, but one thing that I thought was interesting was when Karyn and Geraldine were having their conversation. Okay, so again, they're sitting there together and they're reading the whole thing, and Karyn has her letter of apology, right? And which is so amazing, right? And she's like, and for this, and for that, and I'm so sorry, Mom, that I did this and that.
Confession. Like, I'm Catholic, and it was like going to confession, like exactly how you would say your confession to a priest.
Is it?
And for this,
I'm not Catholic. I've never been in confession. That freaks me out.
That's like what it reminded me of, exactly. Like, and for the time that I did this, and I was like, she's literally treating this as if she's in a confessional, and her mom can absolve her sins, but she can't. She's only going to get pissed at her.
I know. And then Karyn, of course, with a blank piece of paper, their blank book, she's like, I think you should go. Right.
And I'm kind of glad.
I think so, yes. So, but my thing here was, I love that scene. They're amazing together, and we've talked about this before. And you just mentioned it a second ago, how Karyn was like, "You're your father's, Kenny was mine," and so their relationship is always funky anyway. But one thing she said in it, she said in the apology letter, she said, "And I know you're mad that your ex shag bugged us and used me to get at you." And I thought that was interesting, because we've always wondered this whole season, like what the Konstantin Geraldine thing was, and the fact that he bugged their house. And then she says he used me to get at you. So what was her role in the using, though?
I don't know. I'm like, did he just do that to put the magnet on the fridge? No, there's obviously more. And I didn't really buy that from Geraldine.
Okay.
I don't know. I know, maybe I like to like dig into these too much, but I was just kind of like, that seems like an odd way to put it. And or maybe she's just trying to take any blame off of herself, because it did seem like she kind of was a willing participant for a while. It didn't seem like he was like strong-arming her into a relationship. So, I mean, she went over to his house and was like, so I wonder, A, was she just trying to make herself look better to her mom, which I get it. Or B, is there more to that, and she's just trying to gloss over it and be like, and it was just like that, and that's how that magnet got on the fridge in the end.
Right. I thought that was weird.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was weird, like to specifically say it.
Yes, it was. It was. And you almost wonder if it was a confession that we're like, wait, we didn't really know that much, like trying to get it. Wait, what?
Right. And she said, used me to get at you. Mm-hmm. And that's why I wrote it down. I was like, well,
he wasn't trying to make her jealous.
well, right. So what's the getting at you? And it's the yeah.
It's weird.
I don't know. Okay, so then there was a couple of things that I want to ask you about too. Okay, so we know that now Dasha is gone. And as soon as he said, "You're going to die in this hotel room," and he's like patting her hand, I was like, oh, he just did something to the IV, right?
Yeah, it was, and I feel like they emphasized that just so we could understand what was going on. But yeah, I was like relieved. I don't know why, and that sounds really terrible, but I was like, oh, okay, Dasha's gone. It was kind of weird to have. That's how I felt.
Yeah, I felt like that one was for the cheap seats in the back of like, "You're going to die in this room." Pat, pat, pat on the hand.
I'm like, woo, okay.
Okay, but I will say, long live Dasha. Like, she was fun this season. I actually like her presence. I thought she was fun. But something I want to ask you about, Megan, here, because there was a whole backstory, right? Because Dasha and Konstantin, we know that they both have history with Villanelle.
Yep.
And Konstantin was mad at her before, and he said that she had tried to kill Villanelle. And that she was like, "Well, yeah, but you've been too soft on her all along," and all of that kind of stuff. And, she's like, "I'm old school, and you've got all these feelings and things and stuff like that." Like, so what is the backstory between them, though? Like that Dasha, like Konstantin did steal her away, and like, or what?
I don't know. It's interesting. I like how Konstantin was like, "You tried to kill her."
Like,
and I think there's a lot that can be said from that, where he kind of knew, like, I need to nurture this person, and that's how she performs better, and she does better. So I don't know. I wonder, was Konstantin also an assassin at one point, and then he got a promotion?
And he got promoted, exactly. Because there's no way he got to where he did without doing a lot of dirty work.
Exactly. So were they, I don't want to say classmates, but for lack of a better term, were they classmates at one point? And then, they kind of took these different paths, where Dasha hasn't really grown, it seems, since, the 1980s in terms of what her life has become. And he appears on the surface to have a much more glamorous job, to be, he took her prize pupil and all this stuff. Right. So yeah, it is interesting. I would love to see, like, how they came up in the ranks.
How they came up, exactly. All right, well, let me pause for a second to see if we've got some. Well, I got some classics, like Lil Snoop in here. We've got, let's see. Well, it's got some folks. Justin Perry is in here. Little Jimmy. All right, Robert Luengas. We got some people talking about fight stuff, which maybe we will get to, because there were fights last night, of course.
Yes.
So definitely we can get to some of that. All right, so there was a couple of other things here I wanted. Okay. All right, on the plotting at different things. Okay. Couple of things that were interesting. So with Eve going in to the bookie and stuff like that, I thought that was cute. Where she's like, "I'm Tallulah Shark," here to see the whole thing, but to pick up the Russian dolls. And actually, I should grab mine. I got them right here. But I just on a little side note, Megan, because you and I have both been to Russia. I forget. Did you get your Russian dolls when we were there or not?
No, because, okay, so I didn't, but because so my brother wrestled he was on Team USA, and he wrestled against Team Russia, and they trade gifts, and they gave us the Russian dolls. So when I was a little kid, I got gifted by the Russian wrestling team, the set, I forget what they're called, but I didn't buy any in St. Petersburg, but also, I live that carry-on life. And I never have room for anything, which is a gift and a curse all at once.
Yes. Well, I did, because I went on my hunt and I bought them back for everybody. But what was interesting is he said that there was a barcode, right? And then the barcode on there was going to tell him where a bunch of money was hidden, right?
Yeah, I like opened another bank account or something, like with passport. He said there were passports and all that jazz. So yes, a new identity. And I wonder, was Villanelle? Was she going to be included in that? Like, was he just toting her along just because? Because I find it hard to believe he had a Villanelle passport in there.
And that's what I'm wondering too. Like, and he's got the little bag, and like, so what? Yeah, exactly. Like, who's it for? What's the escape? Because then there's still that whole idea of the Cuba with Irina. Is he going to still try to get Irina? Like, so it did make me wonder what all? Yeah, for who was the escape? What all is involved in all of that? And like, how nervous actually is Konstantin? That like, how much time does he spend looking over his shoulder?
Yeah, I mean, he's got to spend the rest of his life that way then, right? Even if you go to Cuba, you're going to have to feel that way. You're never, in this day and age, Konstantin can never be on his own.
Never.
Ever.
Never.
Especially if he pissed off the 12 by stealing them.
Exactly. All right. So a couple of things if we are going to talk about. is maybe, you know, what their future is. What did you think of the line? And maybe I wrote this down because I just took more from it. But when they said, maybe it's time you went cold turkey.
You know, I thought that
and
was
I was like, do they really mean go to Turkey in the winter time?
Oh.
Or like,
love that. I didn't think that.
Right, because it was weird. They just kept saying like, go cold turkey. And it was like, okay, does that mean like, just dump this, give up this life, you know, cut everything off, whatever. Like, I don't know why, but the way they kept stressing it made me think of something.
I had thought it was just Eve, leave this whole 12 thing alone. Villanelle, get rid of it. Like, both of you, like, don't investigate it. Don't think about it. It is what it is. Be done. But I also, a tiny little piece of me, and I know this, again, I love just, like, going way too far into this.
Of course.
Is, like, does Carolyn have an involvement in the 12?
Okay.
Did you feel that way? Like, just a tiny bit.
Yes, because that's what I'm saying. When we had the scene, and there was Paul and Konstantin and Carolyn, and I was like, oh, some S is about to go down. Like, I kind of thought it was all of a sudden like the grown-ups are in the room, and now, well, it's all coming out, right? And there was, she seemed extra authoritative to me. Like, she always is a very powerful woman. But yeah, there was the scenes where she's got the gun on Konstantin's head, and the way she's talking to Paul, like, she seemed to be so commanding that it also then, it did seem to me that she had a little more authority, right? And but then again, you know, as a woman that you sometimes have to fake it till you make it too, right? So then it was like, how much of that is her just like, how much inside is she blowing herself up to try to pull this off? And then as soon as they all left the room, she was in tears. I don't know.
Right. And was she only empowered by her love of her son, whose life was lost because of the men in that room? Like, it's all, you know, it's all very interesting, but I had this very small part of me that was like, I don't know. Does she use them to get at like other bad guys? Like, is there a mutually beneficial relationship?
Right.
I don't think she's just like a bad person at all. Like, I don't think she'd just be a part of the 12 and like, oh, let's kill all these people. But right. I just don't know. And so that was, yes, but I would love nothing more if that was like secret code to go to Turkey in the winter or like go to a Thanksgiving.
They kept saying it. I wrote it down. I'm like, the stress on the cold turkey felt like it meant something to me. And maybe
I love that so much.
I know. But there's just so much going on that you never know, right? Okay, so a couple of things though I did want to talk about when we get to some of the one of my other favorite lines was, and Megan, you know, I know you and Joe have been married for a while. You've been together for a while. Wade and I have been married since 2001 or whatever. But I know that a lot of people have those relationships where Villanelle said, my monster encourages your monster, right? When she and Eve were having that moment together at the end, and they said that to each other, and they were talking about that. And I have never been in a quote unquote toxic relationship, but I know that a lot of people are. And it's interesting, right? Because in this show, you sort of see, they romanticize that idea a little bit, right? Of going after somebody that you know is bad for you, and the love you have for someone that you know is bad for you. So I find that theme very interesting. And like I said, I've never been in one of those. Same. So for people who are in relationships like that, where the push-pull part is so strong, I just wonder what that's like. And like, they know they're bad for each other, but what's bad for each other is what's fueling their passion for life. So are they bad for each other?
Yeah, it reminds me of a relationship on another show that I watched called Big Little Lies.
Okay. I saw the first season. I didn't get to see the second.
And it kind of reminds me of Celeste and her husband.
Nicole, is that Nicole Kidman's character? Okay.
Even though that was hugely physically abusive, but it was like they kind of thrived off of that situation. Right. Like, oh, okay, well, you're mad at me, or now I'm mad at you, but like it kind of brings us together. It's really odd, but I think that, they do romanticize it, but I often think people who stay in those relationships must romanticize it themselves as well. So, you know, because otherwise, what are you doing? If we can all see it, then like, why can't you see it? But I think it is maybe built that way in their minds, the way we're seeing it unfold on a TV screen.
Mm-hmm. I think too, people feel most alive closest to death, right?
Oh, yeah. Why people fight in a cage for a living.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, right? Yeah, we work with people who live, like, I mean, on the edge. Knock wood, bless their hearts. Hopefully, nothing ever really bad happens. But like that's what I really think is like such at the kernel of the show is like they make each other feel alive.
Yeah,
and you know. Who doesn't want to feel alive, right? And so you don't want your job, and as much as they're exhausted by the trying to figure out and the chasing and the looking over your shoulder and the bugging and this and that, like those people are the most alive. You know, when you feel nervous at all and you start sweating, your adrenaline goes like. So I do feel like they're never going to want to leave each other alone because that's what makes them live.
Yeah, and obviously we saw that on the bridge. They don't want to leave each other alone, and I believe are going to start season 4 not leaving each other alone like we thought they were going to until the last 30 seconds of the program.
Right, right.
So it is interesting. Something for me that I took away, okay, when they were showing you the Kenny scenes.
Yes.
Did you have any point in your mind where you're like, oh, he might still be alive?
Not necessarily. No, I didn't think he was alive.
In the beginning,
I didn't think he was alive.
Maybe I misunderstood it, but I was like, wait, when is this footage from? So I thought, oh, are they protecting him? But then you see Konstantin, and then they say, like, Konstantin admits, like, he fell off the roof when I was there. But what do you think happened?
Yeah, because Konstantin's story is what? Well, I'm there, and then he got scared, and he backed up, and he fell off the roof because he was getting too close. He was digging at the bitter pill. He found too much out about the 12, and he went to go. So that she's saying that's what he's talking to him about. What I think he was thrown off the roof. I'm not sure who did it, but I do think he was thrown off the roof because, yeah, he started to find out something that was too close to compromising somebody who had a lot to lose.
Right, and compromising maybe the fact that Konstantin was stealing from the 12 because the accounts were reactivated.
Right. It makes the most sense to me that Konstantin did it, and as much as that sucks, it's almost like he knows he can get away with it because it's the son of a woman I love. Like, I know how to handle her and like fool. You know what I mean? Like,
but then
if you think who can you fool, Megan? You could probably fool somebody you knew better than somebody you didn't know. Maybe is what he's thinking, right?
Yeah. But then I thought when Villanelle said he doesn't kill anyone, he makes another person do it for him. And then when thought he was about to die and he's like begging Villanelle to help him, I wonder, did he have her do it? And
she did it.
Like, we see that he's there. But was she up on the roof? Like, we don't know.
You know what? You're right. Because I did think that was very interesting that when Carolyn had the gun to his head, he's asking for Villanelle's help. Villanelle, do something. Villanelle. And I thought that was very, very interesting and that they have a very good bond. And yes, Villanelle could have been there. And she could have also delivered the cake, right?
Yep. It's a lot to think about. Why don't they just let us... Oh, yes, I see the yellow...
Okay, yeah, I was going to say, I wanted to get to some of the clothes.
So that is... I was going to say, why don't they let us be on the writing team? But never mind. But that yellow jacket, so I'm wearing the same color. I obviously don't have that gorgeous jacket. I wish I did. But this is one of my favorite colors. I used to hate it until like 2 years ago, and then I bought a lot of clothes in this color. So here I am.
It looks great. It looks, and I think yellow looks really good with your coloring because actually Aurora wears a lot of yellow too, and she has a similar color, like paler with darker hair, and she wears a lot of yellow, and it's lovely. And to me, it's just bright and fun. I love it. I love that jacket as well. I think it's amazing. What I really truly loved, though, I got to be honest, was the suit.
Oh my God, the suit was everything.
Okay, so the suit is everything, and if we could pull up the suit, and the fun thing is when they were in the subway, right, and she's standing there, and she goes, she goes, I was trained to look devastating. She's like, obviously.
Yeah.
So that was incredible, and I know I did pull it up, it has it on the side there of who makes that suit, but I don't know if I have the picture with the name of it up there, but I thought that was so funny because she was like, well, tell me about your outfit.
Like, how would you want to be comfortable?
Why? But why?
I know.
And I thought it was so funny when she says it was trained to look devastating. And you know, Megan, you and I both for work, for those who don't know, we've said this before, you and I both work with the UFC and we're on TV a lot. And a lot of time we are in places where we're wearing clothes that look gorgeous and you're sucking it in and you're holding it together and you're like, you're taped up here and this better not fall out over there or whatever. But I definitely will take fashion over comfort. I am one of those people like, I don't feel great in just jeans and a t-shirt. Like, I feel great in jeans and a t-shirt, but I would personally rather be dressed up than not. That's just me.
See, I'm the opposite. I would rather be like dressed down. I'm a very basic dresser, no matter what. Like, I'm very much a white t-shirt, jeans, or like sweatpants. I don't go out in sweatpants, but
yeah.
For work, I have started to, probably within the last 2 years, to try on outfits that I'm going to wear for work, and then like, can I run in this? Because I move around so much that I'm just like, okay, I have to make sure that like because you're on live television, and the back of your mind could be like, does this look weird?
Well, and if you climb up onto the apron of the cage, like, you don't know what angle they're going to use.
Oh, that's why everyone's like, oh, you know, like, you only wear like long dresses or pants. I'm like, for a reason. For a reason. Yeah, because I know for me when I'm standing there and I'm usually only shot from certain angles, so I can kind of like, you know, do whatever more. But what people don't see is, like the tape and all the things holding you together and the things. Yes.
And I just was like, I got to the point where I was like, no, dude, I'm just gonna wear some Spanx here. Just get up in there. Just throw the night pack. Just whatever. Like, you get to the point where you're real friendly with the audio.
The audio
you just start to wear. Like, I started wearing extra stuff because I was like, I don't care if you see my Spanx, because that's not like, go ahead and just strap all that. Throw all those wires in there because they're all gonna get smoothed over.
So it's so funny because that's how it is. And like for Connor's last fight, you know, I wore this really awesome blazer, but like what people didn't see is it kind of was a little too big, and I didn't have enough time for to finish it. So it had those paper like bindy things.
Exactly.
And like, if anyone knew what I looked like from behind, they would be like, "Why is this girl on TV?" But here we are.
That's right. Sometimes we stand at a very specific angle. But anyway, I loved her suit, and I thought that was really funny. But honestly, not for nothing, but like, to me, in a way, the other woman looked more suspect and like a killer. Now, granted, she ended up on the train, on the train tracks and this and that. But to me, depending on, all these places that Villanelle is supposed to go and kill people, you do look more appropriate in a suit, in these nice clothes. You're going to look a lot less questionable. If anything, people are going to notice you. They'll be like, oh, I did see a woman in a really killer Alexander McQueen suit. But like, I don't remember whatever. But like, I saw a girl in a flak jacket and she looked like she was about to murder somebody. I think she was about to murder somebody.
Do you work at the Hunger Games exhibit? Like, is that what's happening? That's what it reminded me of.
Oh.
I love in her suit. The thing I loved about it most when they shot it up close at the dance hall, I think it was corduroy.
I think it was corduroy or something that had a lot of texture because it looked, it's gorgeous.
I loved it. But do we know who made that?
Yes, we do. Like I'm saying, so one of the pictures I sent you, Wade, on the side, it had the designer's name on it. I'll get it for you in a second, but it's such a beautiful suit that I totally love that one. Hold on, let's see if we got any more. We've got some more fight questions coming in. We'll get to them. But let's talk about, we've got the shot up here of them dancing. Megan, I don't know if you know how to ballroom dance or anything like that. Like, so I love to dance, but I don't really know like ballroom dancing or waltzing or anything like that. We went to dance class before our wedding, and so we learned for our wedding dance and never been back. I would love to go back to dance class, but do you know how to dance like that?
No. And I mean, I attempt to dance in general and I have fun with it. I don't know how great of a dancer I really am, but like, I don't care. So I'm like, have fun. But no, I don't know how to ballroom dance, but it does seem fun. Especially like the more Latin, influences. Those always seem like those could be like really fun and like a great calorie burner while we're at it.
Right.
But no, I wish I had professional dance training. I have none. So
yeah. It's fun, and I would love to go back. But the point, this episode was called "Are You Leading? Am I?" And it was funny because as soon as they started dancing, and I was like, I know me, I'm like, well, I would lead. Like, and it was just funny. Like, there was just a funny things about this scene. Like, I feel like this show is so great because of, like, you see things about yourself. Like, there are such strong women, and we don't get a lot of those kind of kick-ass roles. I mean, there's more. But what I love is that there's all different kinds of women that you can find little parts of yourself on, you know, on the show, and find little pieces of yourself. And that made me laugh because when it got to that point, I was like, oh, I would fully try to lead in that situation. Like, if I were to dance with another girl, I know I would try to lead.
I just felt like neither one of them wanted to be like overstepping or overbearing to the other. And then I think it's a reflection of where they both are in their lives. Like, are you going to tell me where I should go and how this should go next? Or should I make that decision? Because I don't really know. Do you really know? Like, it just seems like they're both kind of stuck in this this limbo of sorts where they're not sure who am I supposed to take my role from, or how am I supposed to lead, and is it appropriate if I say what I want and then work towards that with this other person? Right.
You brought up a couple things. Limbo, by the way, you know I am half Jamaican. I'm good at limbo. Surprise, surprise. I'm pretty good at limbo. But yes, you're right, because, you know, if we're circling it back at the beginning, you know, Villanelle met Carolyn at Royal Albert Hall because she was talking about the job offer. And so she was like, I will accept, and all this stuff. And she's saying, maybe I'm going to be out of the killing business and this and that now. And so it does come around to like, who's leading, or are you leading, or am I? Because who was leading? Was Eve leading because she was leading the chase, or is the one running away actually leading because now you have to chase me? Like, the whole time of the show, are you leading or am I, is the whole entire theme, right? And so you do wonder if they ever got together, even though while they were dancing or while they're on the bridge, they seem to start to come together with the idea of like, we could be a couple. How's it gonna be? But it did then start to make me think of like, if they were a couple, would they just butt heads because they're both still very strong personalities, and who would want to lead the couple, right?
You could see them getting in a fight over like what to order for dinner. Like, you could just see that, you know what I mean? You're like, oh yeah, you would be that couple that like feuds over, I wanted this, I wanted this, but like, right? You know what I mean?
Wait, like, what does happily ever after actually look like?
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, some people like those kind of relationships, right? Where you're just like this, but like,
yeah.
I don't know what happily. To me, I know what Carolyn's happily ever after looks like. Carolyn's happily ever after looks like, you're over there reading your book. I got mine. But we're in somewhere lovely. Don't bother me. We're good. Like,
yeah, don't ask me about work and we're fine. Yeah. It is really interesting. I wonder what season 4 looks like for us with all these themes and where we've left off, and especially, you know, with Eve and Villanelle. Yes, we see them on the bridge, but where does Carolyn go from here?
Right.
You know, where does Konstantin go from here? Do we continue to see do we continue to even see Konstantin?
Well, we have to, because he's so great, right? And everybody loves him, right? But you're right, because when the season picks up, it's like, what kind of blowback is there for Carolyn murdering Paul? She said at the end, she said, oh, suicide. Right? Remember you on the phone? She's like, okay, we got another one. So maybe there's a protocol and they can just play it off and nobody ever really will know. But I did think, okay, you know, regardless of whatever, like, he was in this instance her quote unquote boss now, right? And these things. And so like, I was like, well, there's got to be some repercussions.
Yeah, unless the plan the entire time was to do that, because she said Mo was onto him. He knew. And then, you know, Paul had him taken out. And so I wonder, was MI6 keen to it all? And did they give her the go-ahead? And while she was there, she's like, okay, well, if Konstantin's here, let me see what I can find out in this situation as well. So I do wonder. But she was wiping off the gun as if, like, trying to get rid of her fingerprints. So I don't know. Could it be an MI6 approved thing where it's just like, you know, leave the gun, clean it off, we'll pretend you weren't there, and case kind of closed? I don't know. Or did she go rogue? No idea.
Right. Well, right, but, or if all along, is she the one pulling the strings anyway?
Exactly. Is she the 12? Season 4. Do we know if they started before COVID started?
Before COVID, yeah, I don't know. That I don't know. Let's see if we've got some questions here. Okay, let's see. Everybody. Oh, well, yes. Turkey in the winter, yes, Justin Perry. I don't know. I've been to Turkey, but I went in the summer. I went to Antalya, and it was lovely. I've actually been to Turkey. Yeah, no, it was beautiful. I have a rug that I brought back in my dining room. It's like one of my favorite things in the house that I brought back from Turkey. I went there years ago. Yeah, I was working for the Hallmark Channel, and I was doing some behind the scenes things, and they were over there filming. When we were in Turkey, I think that was Cleopatra, or was that in... I did a few things with them. One time I went to Morocco, and one time I went to Turkey. But it was either Aladdin and the 2001 Nights or whatever, or it was Cleopatra. It was one of those that I was in Turkey for. But I went to Antalya, and it was incredible. The coffee over there is incredible. Just like they say, like, it's a beautiful place. And Antalya apparently is, I guess, where they go. Actually, I was off season because I went there and it wasn't that nice out, but they were saying, oh, this is where everybody comes in the summer. This is where, like, all the Germans come to holiday and everything. And, like, it's definitely beautiful. Like, you could see I was sitting on the, on the beach there, and but it was off season, but it was gorgeous. I would happily go back to Turkey.
I've heard, I have friends that went, and I've heard great things as well. It's just super beautiful, great food. Yeah.
Yes. Oh my God, the food. I have to be honest with you right now, Megan. I'm hearing some sirens in the background, which is not great. We do live in Los Angeles here. Not great hearing some sirens, but a few things I do want to show you. We'll get some questions here, but a couple of things. Gramos is saying, hi, Karyn and Megan. They love us. They love our analysis. They love the yellow shirt. So thank you so much. Gramos is actually asking, do we think it's the last of Carolyn's daughter? Do we think it's the last of Geraldine? I hope not, because I think Geraldine is I like her as like the other pole of the magnet to Carolyn. Like, I like how she's her nudge, and I think she's got a lot to offer, and there's still a lot of mystery about her relationship with Konstantin. I hope Geraldine's back.
So I hope she's back because I weirdly hope she's like a player in something. You know what I mean? Like, I do hope that they expand her storyline, because the reason you and I love the show, like you just said a few minutes ago, is there's so many strong women, so many different types of strong women, and people to just look at and see either reflections of yourself of what you could be, you want to be, or you don't want to be. And I just think it would be great to have another character like that, who is a woman who, I mean, is she going to be like a super bad guy who double crosses her mom? Like, I don't know, but I do think that would be so interesting if we can keep her in and have more of a role than just kind of like the whiny daughter, which she played well and was necessary, and it all played in. But I do think if we have a new season, like, could we get into like, hey, Geraldine, there's more than just what meets the eye and what you saw on the surface in season 3.
I hope so as well. Wade was just yelling down to let me know that we did get some cool Killing Eve artwork and stuff. So, this is what's so neat. We just wanted to show some of this. Like over the course of the season, this is such a cool show, and there's so many cool fans that have put out such great artwork over the show. And it must feel really good to be, Jodie or Sandra or any of these people, or Fiona, to see like how much love people have for this. So kind of cool showing this. And also just want to thank the people who run the Jodie Comer Closet Instagram account, because they've definitely helped us out here on the show. Like, we've taken some material from them, which has been really cool. But such fun fan art. And just such a cool show. It's funny, Megan, on the theme of the strong women thing. So while we've been home and on lockdown more, I'm really into jigsaw puzzles. So I do a lot of puzzling, and I have Netflix on a lot. So I'm literally watching Mad Men for like the 3rd time. I watched this show when it first came out. It was appointment viewing for me. I never missed an episode. Yeah. And I watched it all again on Netflix once before. I'm watching it all again on Netflix again. Like, I love this show so much. If Mad Men had come out now, I would be doing a Mad Men reaction show. But I realized through the course of it, the more I watched it, that I'm Peggy. Like, I knew I loved Peggy all along, but you would love, I don't know if you watched Mad Men, but Peggy, Megan, Peggy's the one woman who got in there, who started out as like the assistant, who got to be a copywriter, and who got to like work her way up in the boys club. And it's so interesting because I've seen the show so many times, but the more I watch it again, and these little zingers and these little lines and like little things came out in Killing Eve too, and I'm like, there are these great lines for women, and there's this real strong empowerment line that has come through a few of these characters that I just really love.
Yeah, and I think it's important, and we can have great shows that have that. So hopefully, this just continues to snowball, and I think the show itself is doing a really great job of continuing to add characters that we
Absolutely.
look for ourselves in.
look for ourselves in. And as we say this, and as we do start to wrap up, Megan, I do want to say that, yes, there are sirens going on outside. I do live in Los Angeles. If people were watching the news last night, the things that were happening up on Melrose Boulevard, there were things happening in the Fairfax district. That's real close to home. So the Fairfax district, I used to literally live right there. They were talking about Edinburgh Street. I lived on the corner of Edinburgh and Rosewood. And so Rosewood is 1 block removed from, or Edinburgh is 1 block removed from Fairfax. So I used to just walk around the corner to all this stuff on Fairfax. And we have friends and neighbors with stores and shops along La Brea and different things. So obviously, there is a lot of tension out there in the world. What has happened with the police brutality is horrible. I grew up in a small town. I have policemen friends. I grew up respecting policemen and having them as our friends and having people that we really shared as part of our community. That's not the case in a lot of places. So I know a lot of things have changed. I do not believe all cops are bad. I believe some cops are really, 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 really bad. And it needs to change. It's not okay. You can't sit there and watch somebody get killed for 8 minutes. And you can't watch that. You can't watch somebody die and not find it to be a problem.
Right. No, and I think the fact that you are coming out and we are live, and I don't know if people realize this, like we don't talk about what we're going to say, and I know how hard it is for you to speak out because sometimes I know you receive backlash that is so unwarranted. And so I just want to hug you. I just want to
I never cried, but like
ever.
People are really tired. And like when people wonder about like anger and stuff, like there's a lot of anger and upset. And the thing about it is like you just have to suck it up, right? Like you suck it up so much all the time. And it wears you down. It really wears you down. And I've been fortunate to, really have a lot of great accomplishments in my life, but I know I had to work 3 times as hard, and it's true. And I knew that from the beginning, and I was always told that from my parents, and I knew it was going to be the case. And it 100% is the case. I have to work way harder to be considered equal and all these things. And it's just really true. So I just hope that when people, sometimes, brown skinned people are complaining too much and stuff, like we're really not. Like we're really, really not. Like it's really true. And if I could just explain to you how true it is. And we don't actually complain like nearly enough, I think, is really what it comes to, what's so hard about it. And, for folks who don't know, I've been married for a long time. I am married to a white guy, so I have an interracial marriage, and it's been interesting over the course of years to see him become aware of racism, right, Megan? Because, he's a good dude, right? So obviously he wouldn't got married if he wasn't a good dude, but I don't think even he knew the level of racism. Because if you're a cool person, right, and you're not racist, sometimes you don't see it in other people because you're just like, well, I'm not a dick. I hope everybody else isn't, right? And so he wouldn't necessarily even see it until he was with me, and then he could see what happened to me a lot of the time.
Got to come in here. Hey, guys.
He could see what happened to me a lot of the time, and then he's like, well, that was not right. And for folks to realize too, like what
well, just so people know,
it's really tricky.
As a white person, I grew up in Littleton, Colorado. There was one African-American kid in my high school who I happen to be friends with, and one Vietnamese kid. Otherwise, it was all white. So we had 2 interracial people, or people, minorities in our school. Didn't see a lot of it. Karyn and I have been together over 20 years. We've had people come up to our dinner table, interrupt our dinner. We're minding our own business and tell us, we don't do this here. We've been denied going into clubs. We have MMA Heat. We travel this, the country, the world, covering the sport of MMA, and we've literally been denied going into certain places. And then meanwhile, we turn around and look over the shoulder, and they're letting people in. They just didn't want us in because there's certain cities in America where interracial couples don't work. I've seen people come up to Karyn and tell her, "What are you doing with your hair? You need to straighten it. You can't wear it like this jungle stuff going on." And it really is true. I don't think maybe that they've complained enough. Yeah. And not to hijack this show, but you don't see Karyn almost rarely ever tear up. I had to come down.
Yeah,
I love you.
Love you too. But yeah, what's so hard about it, right? And so it sucks that people are looting and taking the peaceful protests and turning it into something else, because that's not what it's for, and that's not right. And it sucks that the messages will get convoluted, and good people who are really just out trying to send a message of love and positivity are getting lumped in with people doing really crappy stuff. Like, it sucks.
Yeah, I can't imagine, and I just try to listen and be aware, and I think even at work, my husband's not white. It's not the same, but he's not white. But at work, we work with such a unique, diverse. We have people from other countries, so I think sometimes we can be caught in a bubble where we don't even think about it, because it's so we work with this person and that person, and you don't think, and everybody works really hard, and we all love each other. So I obviously just want to tell you you're heard and respected, and we just want to be the best ally we can be. You know what I mean? And that includes don't hijack these protests that are about something to be on Instagram and we are the guests at these protests. Are not to be the news story that you know what I mean?
Yes.
So I just feel all I can say is we can educate ourselves as white people better and do the best that we can, and hope, like I said today, hope that when we tell our grandkids what transpired in these years, that they literally think it's impossible to hear, because the world they live in it doesn't exist. It's not enough to say I'm not racist. Now you have to be anti-racist and really figure out how we can break things within our system. And and I think what you said is perfect. Not every police officer is bad. So it's whatever job you hold, or whatever religion, or who you love, or the color of your skin, all of those things, we have to just treat everybody with respect. Yeah. Because you're different than somebody else. So if you're walking down the street and there's a group of anybody and they're all the same and you're different, no matter who you pick, you're going to be different at some time. So we just need to love and respect each other, and listen to what people have to say who have been through things that we haven't, and try and learn and be better.
Yeah, and that's really what it is that you want to be heard, right? It's just that and so when people kneeled at a football game, they're like, well, that's inappropriate, don't do it now. Or if I say it over here during the awards ceremony, that's inappropriate, don't do it now. Well, when's appropriate? When can I schedule some time to let you know that I'm sad that people that are skin colored like me are dying? You know what I mean? When's a good time? When can I call you to talk about that? So it just comes to a point where people have tried in very peaceful ways and can continue to try in peaceful ways. And that I believe is really always going to be the way that, good people are going to want to get the message out. But it's frustrating. And I even was just sort of mentioning this and put it out the other day that I've worked in television since 91. I've had one person of color as a boss in all that time. And it's just, it's outrageous to think that in all of those years, and I've listed a million different networks that I've worked at, that there was one person of color that was qualified to be the boss. It's just not possible, right? And so you have to think that there are systems in place that keep some people out of things. And that's just upsetting and frustrating. So that's what I get mad at is stuff that you kind of have to live with every day, and you're like, I don't know how I can change it, and maybe it'll start to change. I hope so. But I agree with you. I hope that our kids don't think about this at all. And obviously, the daughter that I have with Wade is mixed, and she's all kinds of cool stuff. If you and Joe ever have kids, they're going to be mixed, and I too believe that it's going to come a day where hopefully it's not that at all, and we all are celebrating differences, just of what do you mean you like that band instead of this band? You know what I mean? And that it's not about skin color, because we can't choose this. It's what a dumb thing to be mad at me for. I didn't choose it. Be mad because I like that shitty band. Don't get mad because of this. You know what I mean? Be mad because I like Nickelback. I don't like Nickelback, but you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, and I I hope that people continue to listen, and especially like listen to your input and just your experiences, because that's how we can learn.
Well, we try. And again, it was kind of hard for this not to get a little heavy. There's just so much going on. But it really was such a fun season of Killing Eve. And what I'm glad that we ended up doing this, because literally if folks don't even know, literally we were just talking about like how much we love the show. I'm like, we're going to mess around and do a reaction show because it's just too good. So now that we have this in place, we need it ready to go for the next season.
Season 4. Tell us what to look forward to. AMC or BBC, give us a budget if you want. Like, let's get
a budget
this together. You know what I mean? Like, because I've gotten so many DMs over the past 8 weeks of like, that's brilliant. I've been looking for something like that because people really love this show. And if we listen, I love Bravo. I watch all the Bravo.
Yes.
And they have a brilliant reaction show every week on Watch What Happens Live with Andy Cohen. And I just, like, for me, I DVR that show.
Yeah.
I will watch an episode of Housewives or whatever it may be and then watch that show after. And I just think it's great because it's some follow-up. Like, I would love to hear, like, maybe a story from somebody from that episode of, like, oh, when we were filming this crazy thing happened. Because, like, for me, when I saw the Tower of London, I got thrown out of that area when I went to London with UFC.
Oh, you did?
A bunch of us did because they were doing a photo op. And I was filming a hit there. And then they were like, you don't have the permission. And so we were like, okay. And then we kind of like ran around the corner and we were like, let's do it really quick again. And they're like, we said you don't have permission. We just had to run. So I would love to hear those kinds of stories from, you know, maybe people who were on the cast. So I'd love to be able to do a little bit more with maybe the people who are on the show. I don't know.
All right, I tell you what. So we'll put together a reel after this one because I fully agree with you. Because the other thing is, like, our good friend Garrett Dillahunt is on Fear the Walking Dead, and so he's on Talking Dead sometimes. You know what I mean? Same thing. That we're just like, well, we got to tune in and see Talking Dead and stuff like that. So 100% agree with you. We could be doing. I'm gonna work on it. And like I said, I wish Mad Men had come out now because we would be doing that one too. I would just force you into doing a Mad Men.
Well, I'll start.
Mad Men are spectacular.
I'll start it on Netflix.
Yeah, no, Mad Men. If we're just talking pure visuals, again, that's another one of those just like beautiful visually. Even though they're a lot of time in office buildings, they do such a good job with the like the set decoration and the colors, like the palettes, everything about that show because it's also about advertising. So like it's layers upon layers of pleasing to the eye, if you know what I mean. I love Mad Men.
Okay, I'm going to start it next.
Okay. All right, so let's wrap it up. But thank you to all of the folks who watch with us and donate and everything. We really, really, really appreciate it. So for me, you can find me at KB Heat on Instagram, Karyn Bryant everywhere else. We will have Killing even more up. You know, maybe we'll just keep it as a fan thing, you know, between and stuff. But Megan, make sure everybody knows where to find you.
At Megan Olivi on Twitter and Instagram. And yeah, like, if you haven't seen the first season of Killing Eve, if you just want to go back, I'm thinking about going back and rewatching.
Oh, yeah.
1 and 2 since season 3 is fresh in my mind. Yeah, let's have some fun.
Mine are all on the DVR. After we watch them, Wade's like, delete. I'm like, you don't use the D word with Killing Eve. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Please be safe out there, everybody. If you are protesting, please be safe, everybody. Be good to each other. Just be a good human, okay?
Amen.
Thank you. Okay. A minute.
That's scary.
But now they're quiet.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah. But no, last night